Hello everyone. My name is Anjali Karki. I'm 12 years old and I'm from Nepal. My lecture today is about my life story. I was born in a village called Pili, high up in a remote area of the Himalayan mountains of Nepal in a district called Kalikot. It is a very different part of the world. There was no electricity, phones or running water, and there were no roads to get to my village, just trails and walking paths and terrace fields where farmers worked to grow food to eat and survive. I don't remember much from the early days of my childhood. I remember the mountains. They were so beautiful. I remember having to walk up and down them, mostly bringing water and firewood. I remember the big blue river way down below the edge of the cliff, and I remember my house. It was made of mud and stone, and there was an area in the corner where we light fire and cooked food. Most people raise animals. We had a cow and an ox. I lived with my mother, father, and two older brothers. I was very young when my mother died. I think about 4 years old. I was the only one with her when she died. I remember we were both sitting outside eating food. We were eating from the same plate. Oh my God. She had stayed home from working in the field because she was sick and had a fever. She was going inside to lie down. I went in a few minutes later and found her laying there. It is one of my earliest memories. I don't remember being sad or crying or even fully understanding. I don't remember whether I went and called a neighbor or just waited with my mom until the rest of my family came home. I just remember seeing her there and not moving, and still. My dad died a year or two later. He fell from a tree when he was going to cut down leaves and branches. Death happened frequently in my village. We were a day walking away from any sort of medical post and 3 days walking to the nearest road to get on a bus to get to a good hospital and see a doctor. When you are a child who's lost both your parents, you usually go to work. My brothers both went to work construction on the first road that was coming into our area. They would leave with axes in the morning, and I could hear the explosions of dynamite in the distance. One day, my oldest brother didn't come back. Some stones fell on him while they were cutting the road, and he didn't survive. When I was 5, I went to a relative's house who was kind enough to give me food and shelter in exchange for preparing food, doing dishes, cleaning, and taking care of the animals and smaller children in the family. I was a good worker. By the time I turned 6, I could carry a good-sized load of sticks and firewood and collect it from the jungle. By the time I was 7, I knew how to harvest a rice paddy and grow a potato, and by the time I was 8, I could help cook a full-course Nepali meal from scratch, lentil soup with spices, rice, potato, and green vegetables over the fire. Every kid in my village worked, not only me. You learn important skills at a very young age in Nepal. You carry your siblings on a sling on your back. You learn to cut grass for your animals with a sickle. You learn to work with the earth, spreading manure, and digging at the soil to make it rich. This to my village was more important than school. We don't mind the work, it's part of life. We make up songs and stories and sing them out loud to the mountains and the sky. The children all gather in the evenings and play games with stone and rope. We made little toys from old rubber. We played hide and seek. By the time you eat in the evening, after a long day, you are so hungry, your belly is growling, but the food tasted so delicious because you worked so hard for it. The most difficult times come when the growing season is over. You learn to survive on pumpkin and Nepali vegetable called chichinda. And whatever greens you can find in the jungle, but most of the time you are still hungry. My happiest memories were playing with my friends. I also remember distant relatives stopping by to visit me where I lived and being so kind. Sometimes they'd give me new fabric to make new clothes. My clothes were ragged, but all of the kids were. We wore 1 or 2 outfits and washed our clothes with water in the stream, beating them hard against the rocks. By the time I was 7 or maybe 8, my life started to get a little more difficult. The relatives I was living with had their second baby and I was expected to take care of it. Taking care of a baby is so difficult. They were always crying and pooping. It was so hard for me to hold them. They would squirm and scold, and a few times I dropped them and they fell down. The woman used to scold me. "You won't get food tonight. You won't stay in this house," she said to me. To my village, animals were very important. In my family, it was my job to take care of our ox and bring it to the mountain to eat grass. One time when I took the animals to the pasture, my ox fell down, and another boy in my village was grazing his ox in the same pasture. His ox got angry and pushed my ox down the side of the mountain. I remember standing there, watching it roll down the cliff, totally terrified. I thought my family were going to kill me. I was too scared to go home. I waited and waited in the jungle until the sun set. By the time I got home, everyone had already heard about the ox and they knew how upset I was. They weren't so angry with me. The man in the house used to come home angry. He used to drink alcohol. Sometimes he hit me with a stick on my back if I didn't do work right and didn't give me food for a day. Many of my friends started going to school, but I had to stay back, taking the cow and goats to graze on the mountain, while many of the other children got dressed in their blue school uniform. I wanted to go to school so bad. When I thought that things couldn't get worse, there was a war and fighting right in my village. I didn't understand what the war was about or what was going on, but I knew that an army base camp had come to my village and I started seeing army soldiers with guns. One day my old brother and I were out on the side of the mountain cutting grass when suddenly we saw lots of people coming and surrounding the sides of the hills. Thousands of people were running and we started to hear loud blasts. My older brother knew that something bad was happening, so he told me to run. I was so little that I couldn't run very fast. I remember my brother just yelling at me, "Run, run, run." I was so scared. I kept stumbling over things and falling to the ground. Finally, we raced back to our house and hid inside. We were so scared we couldn't even eat food that night, and we couldn't even sleep because we kept hearing bombs and guns, and they felt like they were right outside our house. The next morning when we woke up, we learned that lots of people had died. Some of them were being buried in our fields. I was happy we were all okay, but I was scared that something like that would happen again. Thank God it never did. One day when I was about 9 years old, I was sitting outside of my house with my goat when some villagers started calling my name. They wanted me to go down the mountain to the main road. When I got down to a little hut on the road, I saw a group of people I didn't recognize. They had stopped to have a drink of water, and somehow some of my villagers had told them about me. I remember seeing Maggie for the first time. I remember her because she was white and she was wearing different kind of clothes. She couldn't speak much Nepali at the time, so she talked to me through another guy, Top, who was translating. They were asking people about me and I listened. They told her that I didn't go to school and about what had happened to my family. They asked lots of questions very well. I was worried she would ask me questions that I didn't understand. But when she looked at me, she only asked if I wanted to go to school, and the answer was simple, because going to school was all I had ever wanted. I nodded my head, yes. Then she asked me if I wanted to live in a home with other children who didn't have parents. She told me that I would have to leave my village because the place was a little far. She asked me if I would be okay leaving and told me that everything was my choice and my decision. I didn't have to think at all though, because I knew I wanted to go. Yes, I nodded. Yes, I want to go. Take me. The adults kept talking in the room for a while, something about getting papers and documents for me, but I didn't listen. I just kept thinking about how maybe soon I would get to go to school and things might get better for me. It was on this day that my life would change forever. I didn't see Maggie again for a couple weeks. I stayed in my village so some of the village leaders could help me make official documents. Then one of them walked me on the road for a long time until I saw a bus. I had never seen a bus before. I thought it was some kind of big house on wheels. It was scary and loud, and it was a bumpy ride. I had to hold onto the seat, and for the first time I was scared about leaving my village and wondered where I was going. When I got to Kopila Valley, the first thing I remember was the other kids. There were so many of them, 25 children at the time. When I walked through the gate, they were playing ball and jump roping and games, just like in my village. The first thing I noticed was that the house wasn't made of mud. It was big and colorful. One of the girls, Sova, who was my age, showed me to my room. My room was yellow and I had my own bed with my own bed sheet and warm blanket. It was like nothing I had ever seen before. There were large switches on the wall. I had never seen a large switch before. I thought it was so magical how you could see in the dark. The girls and I would sit in our rooms and talk at night until Maggie and the aunties came around and told us to turn out the lights. I always wanted to be the one who pushed the light switch. Then we would whisper and tell each other stories. I became close with the other children at Kopila Valley very quickly. Then there was the food. It was so good. There was always enough of it, and we could eat as much as we wanted. There were so many different kinds of vegetables. We'd cut up juicy cucumbers and all kinds of fruit. I still remember the first time I ate a mango. It was so sweet and the juice dripped all down my fingers. We played games and sang songs. On Saturdays, we went to the park and played family games. I thought I was in heaven. Everyone was so happy all the time. There were lots of aunties and uncles and nice people who helped take care of us. We helped with chores and duties around the house. Maggie and the aunties were strict about us keeping our room clean and tidy and sharing the duties so the house ran smoothly. But we went to school too. Everyone was serious about going to school and reading. I still remember when Maggie took me to get measured for my first school uniform. The fabric had red checkers on it, and the pants were gray, and I wore a tie and a belt and black shiny suit with socks. I wore my hair in pigtails, tied with ribbons. The aunties used to comb my hair to get the knots and all the lice out after I showered with soap and shampoo. I couldn't stop looking in the mirror because I didn't look like me anymore. I was so proud, I felt so smart, and I hadn't even been to school yet. My first time in school was difficult though. I was the oldest and biggest in my class, and all the other kids were in nursery. And they knew more than me. I made a promise to myself that I would not stay in nursery with those little kids with runny noses who couldn't even go to bathroom on their own. I'll go back to my house and practice my letters with other children. I wanted to learn everything fast, so I didn't have to stay in class with the little kids. One time at school, a few boys teased me for being black and darker than everyone. I got upset and started to cry. But then I came up with a new nickname for myself, Black Beauty. In just a couple months, I moved up to first grade and then second and then third. Now I'm 12 and I'm in 6th grade and I'm doing great in school. I live with my 40 brothers and sisters. Nisha, Shobha, Krishna, Janak, Navin, Sabita. There are too many for me to name. I love them very much. They all have a story like me. We have a very special family. There are also over 300 students in my school, Kopila Valley. This year I have already read lots of books like Charlotte's Web and Mr. Popper's Penguins and Island of the Blue Dolphins and Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. I have learned to speak English. In school I take math, science, English, Nepali, social studies and health. I also take music and art classes, my favorite. I joined a soccer team. We put on plays on the stage. I just played the part of Lily in the musical Annie. I have learned so much about the world and gotten to meet all kinds of people. We have wonderful teachers and a principal and people from our community who help make Kopila Valley what it is. We have volunteers and friends who come from all around the world to visit, and Maggie, well, I call her mom now. She is the mom to me and all the other Kopila kids, and she is the best mom in the whole universe. Top uncle who helps on Kopila is very intelligent, and he and all the aunties and uncles and teachers look after us and love us very much. My life is very happy. But Maggie mom has taken me back to my village 2 times, and living in Nepal, I have seen many other girls and kids like me who don't go to school. I see lots of kids struggle, and I know how hard it was because I struggle like that too. I know girls from my village who are already married because they get given away, girls who are my age and a little older. People in my village don't always see girls as valuable. They give them away, and sometimes the girls don't even have a choice. That could have been me. I don't blame my village. I know it's because they are not educated. People who aren't educated, they can't know what is right and what is wrong. But I know it's wrong now. I have also seen lots of people like my mother and father die because they didn't see a doctor and never got medicine. I want that to change in the world and in Nepal. There are a lot of other orphans and children like me in the world who haven't had this chance that I have. I feel really lucky, and what I really wish more than anything in the world is that every kid gets the chance to go to school and be able to read and write and be able to have a home and enough food. It's a really bad feeling not to have enough food and not to feel safe or loved. There is so much we can change to make the world better. I want to grow up and I will try to make the world better. I want all of us to. And for all the other children who are alone, who don't have parents, who are sick or hungry, who have been forgotten, I will remember you. I will not forget you. I will do everything I can to make sure that your chance will come too. Thank you. Thank you.